Here's an APA style table. So we have 4 variables here: height, weight, salary, and self-esteem. And we're going to find the correlation for them. So this first one here is 0.46, and that is the relationship between weight and salary. So we go to the row here and it's at 2, and then we go down and from 1, and 1 represents height, so you have to go back to the row to see what number 1 means, and that means height. So this correlation is a correlation between weight and height, and it's 0.46. So let's do a different one. So the 0.10 here is the correlation between self-esteem and weight. So weight gets a number 2. So you have to go back and see what number 2 is, and it's weight. So the correlation between self-esteem and weight is 0.2 or 0.10. This is what's called the diagonal, and usually you put these dashes here. The reason we have dashes is because you can't correlate a variable with itself. I mean, you can, but it's just going to be 1. And so height correlated with height would be 1, weight correlated with weight would be 1, and salary with salary would be 1, and self-esteem would be 1. So, I mean, it doesn't really tell you anything. So we just put dashes here, and this is called the diagonal because it's, at a slant here. This is called the diagonal. And you kind of notice that there's nothing above the diagonal. And you might wonder why. So the reason is because this will just repeat the correlations that we already have. So if you did height again in the first row and then you go over to 2, that'd be weight. So the correlation between height and weight is already on there, and it's 0.46. So you don't want to repeat the correlations again, so you just don't put them there. So the correlation between weight and height is the same as the correlation between height and weight. So it doesn't matter which one you say first. It's the same number. So you don't include them above that diagonal. Here is what is called the P level. And so if the correlation is what's called significant, it will get a star, a little asterisk by it. And we'll kind of talk about what a P level is later on. So that just means that we have enough evidence to say that there's actually a correlation and then it's not just 0. And so the ones with this asterisk by it means that they're significant and they're high enough to say that there's an actual correlation and it's not just some random correlation that we found by chance. But we'll go over that in the second half of the course. Here's an APA style with 2 samples. So in this chart here we have men's correlations and women's correlations. And here's the diagonal again. Remember, there's dashes there. And below the diagonal is men's correlations, and above the diagonal is women's correlations. And you can see at the bottom here, under the table, we have this little note that tells you that. And so sometimes you do this so that you don't waste like rooms. Oh, if you have 2 samples, in this case it's men and women, then you want to use the whole table and not waste space. So below the diagonal is the men's correlations, and above the diagonal is the women's correlations. So the correlation between weight and height for men is 0.46, but the correlation for weight and height for women is 0.50. So they're just in different spots. And that ends this video.